Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today so that you can learn how you can electrify your ride with an EV or an e-bike. My name is Annika Osborne, and I'm with Cool the Earth, an environmental nonprofit with a mission to reduce carbon emissions and air pollution. With the climate crisis looming, we can agree that it's important to reduce fossil fuel usage. And since transportation is the biggest contributor to our individual carbon footprint, it is clear that we need to get out of our gas cars. At Cool the Earth, we advocate for walking, biking, taking public transportation, carpooling in electric cars preferably. And with our Drive Clean Bay Area collaboration, we focus on educating and engaging people around zero emissions vehicles like e-bikes and electric cars. I want to thank Electrify America for sponsoring this event and the League of Women Voters for partnering with Drive Clean for this series of events. We have in attendance tonight League members from 12 states, which is very exciting. Today we'll start off with opening remarks from Diz Swift, co-chair of U.S. Climate Interest Group for League of Women Voters. Then we will cover benefits of driving electric, current and coming EVs with some driver spotlights, charging at home and on the road. And then at the end, you'll have a chance to ask us questions that remain. I want to introduce you to my colleague, Kevin Morrison, who is also with Drive Clean. And great, I will enable that. And he will be in the chat answering some questions as they come up. And I imagine some of you are EV experts as well. So if you want to answer those questions, feel free to hop in and join the chat. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Diz Swift. Diz is the co-chair of the U.S. Climate Interest Group for the League of Women Voters. Diz, you can take it from here.
Thank you so much, Annika. It is a pleasure to be in a partnership with Drive Clean. They are a go-getter organization, and I've learned a lot as we've worked together. The League of Women Voters, as you probably recognize the name, is known for our work in voting rights and elections, and that is certainly what we do primarily, and especially now as voting rights are being challenged. But we also are interested in climate change because it is threatening actually the very core of the democracy. This is a statement from our website. As citizens of the world, we must protect our planet from the physical, economic, and public health effects of climate change while also providing pathways to economic prosperity. Just in 2020, we began the Climate Interest Group across the entire US with the League of Women Voters US. We now have more than 1,500 members, and our primary goal is to educate all the League members in local areas and states on climate issues. And the League is very proud that we speak with one voice, and so we need to know what that voice says, and so we're educating. And hyper-local action with the local leagues. In California, we have 62 local leagues. I don't really know how many there are in the US, but local action is really very powerful. So that's one of the things that Drive Clean does, and I'll take it back to you, Annika.
Okay, so we will begin the main presentation now. So there are many benefits to driving electric. From an environmental perspective, with an EV, we can reduce our impact on the earth by decreasing carbon emissions and air pollution. Our passenger vehicles are the single largest source of emissions, representing up to 50% of our individual carbon footprint. So when you switch from a gas car to an EV and plug into clean energy, you can cut your carbon footprint significantly. It's an impactful action, and we want everyone in. From a personal perspective, when you make the switch, you can save time, money, and improve your driving experience with an EV. And you'll be a part of the electrification movement, which is really taking off now. So the climate crisis and poor air quality are affecting everyone, but not equally. Due to systemic inequities, communities of concern are disproportionately impacted and experience the effects of climate change first and worst. And air pollution greatly impacts these communities, which are often located near freeways, major roads, and oil refineries. So the good news is that people are starting to notice, speak out, and take action. And we need to continue to get the word out about working for environmental justice through climate solutions. So when we reduce emissions, it helps everyone on this earth. So for many people, deciding which car to buy comes down to finances. Good news, many EVs have a lower total cost of ownership compared to gas cars. So some of the reasons for the low cost of driving electric are that during the past 5 or 10 years, battery prices have dropped dramatically. There are government incentives available, depending upon what state you live in, for up to $11,000 for most vehicles, depending on your local incentives. Gas can be 2 to 5 times more expensive than electricity, depending upon where you live. There's no scheduled maintenance for EVs. A recent government study confirmed that the cost of maintenance on battery electric vehicles is 40% less than for gas, hybrid, and plug-in hybrid cars. And for California residents, Drive Clean Bay Area partners with Cartelligent for an EV discount campaign twice a year. We just finished one on Friday. We were helping people. We helped about 20 people switch to driving electric just in these last few weeks. So we're very happy when we're able to offer these discounts. More discounts. So there are lots of incentives available when you switch to driving electric. Every state is a little different. And in California, you can save up to $10,250 with rebates and tax credits for a fully electric car. The federal tax credit is claimed on tax liability when you file your taxes and does not take the form of an upfront rebate. The vehicle tax credit is currently not available for Teslas and Chevy Bolts, and the credit is for purchase only, but some dealers will take it off of the lease price. For instance, a friend of mine just got a Volkswagen ID4, and the dealer just subtracted $7,500. They took the tax credit themselves and passed that along to him as he was leasing it. So that brought the price down significantly. The home charging rebate is available for up to $1,000. The credit is for 30% of the cost of the charging station or outlets and the install. And where you live, there also may be some state, county, and utility rebates. The Plugstar website that's listed here has a great nationwide savings calculator, so you can calculate exactly which incentives you qualify for wherever you live. I know that most people who are on this call are in California, so I'm just going to call out a couple of incentives going on here right now. So there's the utility-sponsored California Clean Fuels Reward for $750, which is taken off the MSRP at the point of sale. The California state rebate is for $2,000. And there's the Clean Air Vehicle decal, which gives EV drivers access to the HOV lane as a single passenger. And I know this is available in many states. And so this could be a reason if you are a big commuter and you're debating whether you should lease or buy, this could be a good reason to lease, because this decal just lasts for 3 years. And I have a friend down the street who's on his 4th EV, and his 4th decal saves him 30 to 45 minutes daily on his commute. And then if your income qualifies, you may be eligible for special grants, especially if you can retire your old car. But if you look at this Plugstar incentives calculator, you'll find exactly which incentives you qualify for. So EVs offer a great driving experience. What I really like is the extra torque or power that you get when you drive an EV. So I can quickly accelerate when I'm getting on the freeway and then easily maneuver between lanes. Sometimes there's somebody who's like right behind you there, but with an EV, you can just kind of glide forward where you want to be because you have that extra power. So that's super fun. The quiet and smooth drive makes for stress-free conversations while on a road trip. And for me, the high safety ratings were a big factor. I have teenagers living at home, and yeah, we're all just figuring it out here. So we all love driving our EVs, and we all prefer our EVs to our old gas cars. We were big fans of Subaru before. We had 2 Subarus, and yeah, it's just awesome to drive electric. We love it. So before we take a look at the cars, let's take a look at the carbon footprint and EVs of the EVs and the batteries which store the energy. So it's clear that we need to stop driving gas cars to reduce carbon emissions and air pollution. Again, walking, biking, taking public transportation are all great ways to do this. And if people require cars, we encourage replacing gas cars with electric vehicles like e-bikes and EVs. So according to the Union of Concerned Scientists, for everyone in the country, charging the average new EV produces far fewer global warming pollutants than driving the average new gas car. So yes, it does currently take a little more carbon to produce the EV because of the battery, but even that is reducing as manufacturers are streamlining their manufacturing processes, and batteries are changing as well. So the orange part of this chart represents the cradle to grave carbon emissions for vehicle components, and while the blue represents carbon emissions from combusting gasoline. Thank you to all of those early Prius drivers who took early environmental action by cutting their carbon emissions in half. As you can see with an EV, you can reduce your emissions even more. And it feels great to not have to support big oil. So since the Industrial Revolution, humans have had a significant impact on the environment. There's a huge environmental impact from extraction and transportation of fossil fuels and driving gas cars. There are issues with EVs, mainly the batteries, in terms of extracting rare minerals and the energy required to produce batteries. But there's so much research being done around batteries now, and batteries are changing quickly. So the goal is for batteries to be cleaner, safer, and more efficient, meaning that you can charge your EV in 15 minutes. So the good news about EV batteries is that besides the early Nissan Leafs, there's very little battery degradation. So the batteries will last for many, many miles. Some are predicting even 300,000 to 500,000 miles. We're really not talking about replacing batteries in these newer EVs. So for cars, when the battery goes below, say, 80% of its capacity, the range is reduced, which is not catastrophic. You can still drive your EV, just not as far. And then there's the second life of EV batteries, using them for stationary storage, which is something our utilities are very interested in. We produce a lot of solar energy in the United States, and if we don't use it while the sun is shining or store it, when the sun goes down, it's gone. So there's a lot of research being done now to transition EV batteries for stationary storage. And then after being used to store energy, 95% of the materials can be recycled, even rare minerals like cobalt. So we're moving fast and quickly toward new battery technology, which is very exciting. So with over 50 plug-in electric vehicles available, there's an EV or e-bike for every lifestyle and budget. And that's a great thing because we need everyone on board, cutting their individual carbon footprint in half in order to have collective impact. Most fully electric EVs offer 200 to 300 miles of range, and some will go even farther on one charge. And I realize this is a little location centric here, but this means you can go from San Francisco to Lake Tahoe with just a 15-minute charging break. I know some people don't even have to stop at all, or from San Francisco to Sacramento and back without having to stop to charge. So things are moving quickly. It really wasn't like this 5 years ago. Okay, here come the cars. So on this slide, on these slides, I'll be showing you about 10 or 15 slides now. So on these slides, the price listed is the base MSRP. There are many additional incentives that may also apply. So the actual cost can be much less than these prices. So here are a couple of the lower range EVs that are available for just around $30,000. Not everyone needs a high range EV, and these work out great for commuter cars. I also want to note that the Nissan Leaf, as well as this base model, also has a plus model that offers higher range at just a little bit more cost. So here are a few of the most popular models that you've most likely seen around. The Hyundai Kona and the Kia Niro are great crossovers, and the Tesla Model 3 offers an all-wheel drive option and very fast charging. Incidentally, in 2021, the average price of a new gas car in the United States is $40,000. And this is before incentives. So Linda Engel is part of the Pocatello chapter of the League and the Idaho League of Women Voters climate team. Linda, please tell us why you drive electric and what your experience has been like with your Tesla Model 3.
Oh, sure. Yeah. As you mentioned earlier, I have been concerned about climate change for years and years. And before having a Tesla, I would feel guilty about going to the store or going on a long trip. Just because of the pollution and so on, and I would limit my travels. So in 2019, when we put solar panels on our house, My husband gave me this best gift in the world, when that's a car that drives on the power of the sun. So that was like a dream come true. And we did get the tax credit that you mentioned, because we were under that number. So that was $7,500 odd. So that was great. And my husband insisted on getting the Tesla because at that time, there weren't that many other companies that were having charging stations, but Tesla had a whole lot. And now they're even more. So we've had it for 3 years. And just a little bit about the car. One charge takes us about 300 miles. And we had for $500, we had a level 2 charger just put into our garage. So it takes about 4 hours for the car to just charge up, which is terrific. If we didn't have that and we just did the regular plug into the house, it would take about 4 days. So that was pretty slow. So we decided, okay, this is worth it. Just the other day, I took my husband from Pocatello down to Salt Lake, and that's about a 2.5, 3 hour drive. And we did have to stop and fill up, so to speak, charge up. And that took us about 20 minutes. And we went and had dinner during that time, and then went on down. And then an interesting thing kind of happened on the way back. So it was around midnight, and I had dropped my husband off at the airport, so I was alone. And I had to charge up on the way home. I could not get the plug out of the car. And so I had an app on my phone, and within 10 minutes, they said, oh, there's this manual ring, just pull on this ring, and boom, I was on my way. So they're very responsive. The other thing about going on a long trip like that is that you have a console that you can actually even speak into it, just like you can speak into your phone, and you can say, navigate to Salt Lake City, for example, or wherever, and it will tell you exactly where. You don't even have to use the phone app like on that little video we saw. It's just right there in the car, and it tells you it's going to take you 20 minutes to charge up here, and you have driven, let's say, for 3 hours, and 20 minutes later, you're back on the road. And just distance-wise, my husband has taken the car to Florida from Idaho. And so, it's fabulous. I just can't tell you how fantastic it is. The acceleration is fun. There are fun things in the car. The engineers had a terrific time creating this car. It's quiet. I don't know. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer anything else, but that's about it. It's great.
Thank you so much, Linda. And I just love this picture. It looks beautiful where you are. So I just wanted to point out one thing about the federal tax credit. So the way that it was first set up, they limited every car manufacturer to the first 200,000 EVs sold. So that's why that is no longer available for the Tesla or the Chevy Bolt. However, there are some talks going on in Congress, as many of you may know right now, specifically about the federal tax credit. And fingers crossed we can get this thing passed. And the plan would be to take that limit off so that anybody can get in, who gets an EV will be able to benefit from that federal tax credit. So let's all make our phone calls and do what we need to do to pass that infrastructure bill. Thank you. So the next 3 cars came out in 2021. The ID4 is the first from Volkswagen, the Volkswagen ID brand, and there will be more coming. I think they've said 1 every year for the next 8 years. I think we have to wait until 2023 for the very iconic Volkswagen Buzz, which replaces that Volkswagen Bus. So excited for that to come out. I've just seen little models of it. And a bonus, when you lease or buy this car, you'll receive free fast charging for 3 years at the Electrify America charging network, which is rapidly expanding throughout the United States. And it will be expanding even more if this infrastructure bill gets through. So the Mustang Mach-E is a very popular car. People say the Mustang Mach-E is a lot like the Tesla Model Y, but with the federal tax credit. So it's been a little bit hard to get your hands on this car because more people want this car than they produce them. But hopefully this will change in the next few months. And the Volvo XC40 Recharge is also a great SUV. You sit up nice and high in this car, and it has a beautiful interior. Volvo is committed to an all electric and all vegan seats by 2030. In the luxury segment of the market, there's the Audi e-tron, the Polestar 2, and which is a relative of Volvo, and the Tesla Model Y. These are beautiful, safe cars, and the Model Y has a third row of seat and seats 7 passengers. I think 2 very small people in the very back, is what I've heard. So if you absolutely cannot find an all-electric car that works for you, there are many plug-in hybrids out there. So if you plug in a PHEV, as we call them, nightly, you may be able to cover your commute or your daily driving on all electric, and you can save the gas tank for road trips. The Honda Clarity, the Prius Prime, and the Kia Niro plug-in hybrid are great options. They have a decent amount of electric range for commuting. I have a friend who owns she's on her second Honda Clarity. She's never driven on gas. She's been able to drive strictly on electricity. So that's wonderful. And if you're in the market for a larger car, the Chrysler Pacifica minivan, the Toyota RAV4 Prime, and the Kia Sorento are really nice options. They offer a really good amount of electric range for being a plug-in hybrid, so we like that. And so we'll talk a little bit about used EVs. So EVs have been around only for just about 10 years. So because EV technology is so new, many people lease their EVs. So now there are many available on the market at good prices. Here are just a few of the many affordable used EVs available. Higher range EVs like Chevy Bolts and Teslas are also available on the used market. And I just want to note that currently the market is not quite as fluid as we would like it to be because of the microchip shortage, which has impacted the sale of new cars, which has now trickled down to used cars. So the prices are a little bit higher than what I put on this slide, but these cars are constantly coming off of leases. So hopefully we'll have some steady inventory coming into the used market as well. So here are some EVs that are coming soon. The Audi Q4 e-tron has a significantly lower price than the current Audi e-tron, about $20,000 cheaper. And then there's the Nissan Ariya that's coming out early next year. Here are a few coming out at about the $45,000 range, expected to come out. Still, they're saying late 2021. I just checked this, maybe early 2022. We'll be so happy to see these cars. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 is the first Hyundai built exclusively as an EV, and it can charge 60 miles in 5 minutes and go from 10% to 80% on a fast charge in just 18 minutes. So we're not quite at the gas station model yet, but we're almost there. Enough time to plug in, get something to drink, use the restroom, and come on back. So this is moving very quickly, and we love this. It also has bi-directional charging, which may add some resiliency during power shutdowns. And the Kia EV6 is Kia's first all-electric brand. So these cars are available for pre-reservation now, and we're just so excited to have new models. We got 3 new models this year, and we're just excited to see more coming soon. So we don't have the BMW i3 on here. It came out in 2014, and it's been a big success. Now they're moving up to the BMW i4 and iX. Last weekend, I was out at this event in San Francisco called EV Week. It kind of coincided with Fleet Week, and we had a big car show, EV car show, and they had this BMW iX out there, and that looks like a sturdy, beautiful car. And then there's Rivian, the new all-electric EV manufacturer. The Rivian SUV and truck offer excellent utility with a high range. And as an environmental nonprofit, we like the fact that Rivian answers the high consumer demand for both SUVs and trucks. So this picture was on the Rivian website a while ago, and I snapped a screenshot because I'm a big fan of camping, and I saw this and I'm like, whoa, what's going on in this picture? And then I've kind of broken it down here. So behind the cab there, you can see this black thing coming out. That's an all-electric cooktop. So no more bringing your Coleman cooking stove with you and propane gas tanks. That's a thing of the past. You can just cook right off of the battery of your electric vehicle. And then I'm a little bit of a dreamer, and I actually saw an electric cooler at REI the other day. So I imagine that as an electric cooler. So you can just plug that guy right into the car, and no more having to run to the store to get ice and having a big mess in your cooler. Very excited about this. And yes, so trucks are on the way, and some are coming next year. Over 1 million people have ordered the Cybertruck. And we're especially excited about the Ford F-150 Lightning, which offers extra resiliency with bidirectional charging. It is basically a battery on wheels. And the reason we're so excited is that the regular F-150 is the most popular car in the United States. So we think the Lightning will be very popular, really a game changer for electric vehicles. So if you're not in the market for an EV, an e-bike might be right for you. So instead of hopping in a gas car, you can try commuting or running errands with an e-bike. E-bikes are fast and fun, and there are so many different types of models to choose from. Fun fact, 600,000 e-bikes were sold in 2020 in the United States. That's a rate of about once every 52 seconds. On that note, that little fun fact came to me from Bruce Bell. And at this point, I'd like to introduce you to Nancy and Bruce Bell, who are both league members here in the Bay Area in Marin County. They happily drive their Chevy Bolt, not just around town, but around the country. They are also avid e-bikers. Please tell us a little bit about why you ride and drive electric and a bit about your experience.
Regarding the electric bike experience, just to put that out there, I have been an avid road cyclist for over 30 years and wanted to continue doing the rides that I've done in the past. So I recently got an electric specialized Creo, and it is a road bike strictly, but it has changed my life. It's just, I'm back there on the road doing the climbs I used to do. I did 400K rides in the last few months, and I'm back in the pack. And I can't say enough about what a game changer an electric bike has been for me. Mine is pedal assist. And I highly recommend, if you're a recreational cyclist and looking for the opportunity to stay on the road, it really does make a difference. I work just as hard, I just go faster.
I actually really love that she has this electric bike as well. We've been riding together for 32 years, and we can still ride together because Nancy has this electric bike, and it's just been great. As far as EV goes, there's a picture of our Chevy Bolt there. We've got 55,000 miles on the Chevy Bolt. I think I'll mention that so far, the only thing we've done to it is rotate the tires and put new tires on it. I believe the first significant maintenance is at 150,000 miles, which is a fluid change for coolant, which costs about $175. Then you go another 150,000 miles. We've driven it up to Washington and back in the winter and snow and sleet. As everyone says, it's super comfortable. The only real problem with it is we fight over who gets to drive the electric car. So we have a rule in the household, whoever's driving further, and of course, I believe Nancy makes up things like she's going shopping and stuff just so she can go further. But yeah, we're fully on board with the electric car, and are looking forward to someday when we can get a really long range electric van.
Very nice. Thank you, Bruce and Nancy. And I just also want to call out that Bruce has become quite an expert on charging in multi-unit buildings. So if you live in condos or apartments, so if anybody has questions about that, you know, he really has done a ton of research and a lot of work around that himself.
Yeah, reach out to Cool the Earth and they'll give you my email address, and I'm more than happy to help folks that are in that situation.
Okay, great. We're going to move on there. So now we've come to the how to EV portion of the webinar. And so we'll be talking mostly about charging in this segment. So we'll start with charging at home and on the road. People get worried about charging, but for many people, 90% of charging is done at home or at work. So first, we'll talk a little bit about charging at home. So there are two options for charging at home. Linda talked a little bit about it. So the first is an easy, no-cost solution, and it is ample for most people. You just plug in the charger that comes with your vehicle into a standard 120-volt outlet. It gives you 25 to 40 miles of charge in 8 hours, which is usually overnight, which is just enough to replenish your battery for most people. Many people don't really drive more than that. So this, easy solution called level 1 charging works great for most people. This is what we did when we actually in 2019 also got a Tesla Model 3 for road trips, and we just plugged into the standard outlet. We got an extension cord, and it worked out fine. We recently have gotten a level 2 charger as well. Now we have 2 EVs, so we ended up just kind of wiring the outlets so that they were convenient for us. But for many people, this is really just kind of topping off your battery at night is great. But if you drive more than 50 miles a day, a good option is to see if you can charge at work. If not, you may want to purchase a home charging station for level 2 charging. You'll get about 25 miles an hour. So you can easily get a full charge overnight, which is kind of a rare thing. I know for me, in my case anyway, I'm typically just filling up my car from like 60% to 80% on a day-to-day basis. So it works, it works out just fine, really. But really, the first step is to consult with an electrician. We have an online resource on our website to help determine which charging station is right for you if you want to go that route. So charging away from home. So there are also many level 2 public chargers available. So you can charge when you're around town, running errands. A lot of malls have level 2 charging. So for example, when I go to farmer's market, I usually charge my car for 45 minutes and pick up 20 miles of range. So that works out really great. When you're on a road trip, you'll want to fast charge with a level 3 charger, the fastest charging available. Different EVs charge at different speeds. So that's something to be aware of when you're deciding which EV to get. Just really figure, if you're going to be using this for road trips frequently, you want to really, make sure you get one that has a very fast charge. On average, fast charging will get you about 70% battery charge in 30 minutes. On the road charging, as Linda said, is often a 20 to 30 minute stop. So if you're interested in level 2 charging at home and you already have a 240-volt outlet, a smart splitter can be useful. Smart splitters are 240-volt safety devices that can be used for your home EV charging and appliance setup. So the 2 primary uses for smart splitters are to share a circuit with an appliance, like your clothes dryer that also takes a 240-volt outlet, or to share between 2 EVs. Because once you get one EV, you're going to get a second one because they're so much fun. But you'll want to check in with an electrician before opting to use a smart splitter to make sure you have enough amps in your electric panel and all that good stuff. So once you start driving electric, it's ideal to charge your EV from rooftop solar. There's a federal tax credit available this year for 26% of the install cost. I believe that's going to go down to 22% of the cost next year. It's a great feeling to charge your car from the electricity that you generate from your own solar panels. And for more resilience, you may want to consider battery for storage. But if you're not ready for solar, you can choose a clean energy plan from your utility so that you're charging your EV with clean energy from the sun and the wind. I know that may not be available all around the United States. I know actually where we live here in Marin County, MCE Clean Energy was the very, very first CCA that actually offered 100% renewable energy for a small surcharge. But you can check in with your utility and see if there are options for you to make sure you are charging with cleaner energy. In addition, your utility may offer a special reduced EV or time of use rate so that you pay less for electricity during certain times of the day. So where I live, the off-peak times are from midnight to 3 p.m. So that's when we have plentiful wind and solar energy. So again, something you'll want to check in with your utility about. All right, we're going to get back to talking a little bit about EV ownership in a multi-unit building. So there are several EV charging solutions for people who live in multi-unit buildings, and more solutions are on their way. So if a charging station is not available, people charge by plugging into a standard 120-volt outlet if available. If there's no charging where you live, advocate for a 120-volt or a 240-volt charging station. There are new smart outlets that help you track electricity so that you can reimburse the property owner for the amount that you use. People charge at work if that's available, and then other people charge at public fast chargers. On average, fast charging will get you about 70% battery charge in 30 minutes, as I mentioned, and approximately 90% of Californians now live within 15 miles of an Electrify America ultra fast charger. And as I mentioned again, with Biden's infrastructure plan, they're looking to bring 500,000 new fast charging stations across the United States. So that will make a really big difference. And then EV Match provides charging access with a peer-to-peer network for charging. You can download the free app to share your charger with others, or you can find and reserve charging if you don't have access to a charger. So that's something nice that you can do for your community if you have level 2 charging that you could possibly share. So smart outlets offer an affordable way for EV owners to charge their vehicles in a shared space. So these smart outlets monitor the electricity that you use to charge your EV so that you can reimburse the owner for that power. So these are brand new. 6 months ago, I would have said these were in beta mode, but actually Bruce and Nancy, they have a neighbor who just got one, and they've been working with this one company called Orange Charger, and they have this smart outlet that can help track electricity. Okay, so taking a road trip is getting simpler all the time. Thousands of public charging sites provide fast charging, and using apps like PlugShare, it's easy to plan a trip and find chargers along the way. Anytime I go on a road trip, I always go to the PlugShare website just so I can kind of get an idea of where I need to stop when I'm on this road trip. It's great because I can kind of plan lunch and dinner, or like what I want to do, makes for a richer trip. Electrify America, EVgo, and ChargePoint all offer app or card-based stations, making it easy to just tap your phone, charge, and go. And with public charging, we recommend that you practice a few times locally and then take your first road trip. It's not that it's that complicated, but it's just good to make sure that your account is all set up with these charging networks. You do want to put in your credit card in advance so that you have a little bit of money in there and you don't have to deal with that when you're on a road trip. But definitely practice before you head out on the road. So climate change is happening and power shutdowns are happening. Some people are worried about having an EV because of power shutdowns, but EVs can actually help during a power shutdown. So you can plug in an inexpensive 300-watt inverter, that red box there, $30 on Amazon, into the accessory port and power up small appliances like cell phones, laptops, LED lights. So just about 2 years ago, where I live in San Rafael, we lost power for 5 days. And while for 2 days we were enjoying the candlelight, that got a little old after a while. So we decided to try this thing out. So we plugged it into our car, and then we ran an extension cord into our living room and plugged in a bunch of string lights. So they only took 3 watts each. So that worked out just fine. And we had a little bit of comfort in our living room. Another time we just randomly had a power outage for like an hour or two, and kind of an amateur move on my part, I had no charge on my computer. So I just went and sat in my car and plugged it in, and I just sat there and did my work, and nobody knew the difference. So yeah, the technology around inverters is advancing quickly, and there are several companies working on vehicle to grid and vehicle to home energy management systems. Just imagine when you come home at the end of the day, when electricity is expensive and not so clean, you can power up your home with the energy that's left in your EV battery, and then power up your EV battery during off-peak hours when there's ample, clean, and inexpensive electricity available from the grid. So it's a whole new way of looking at electricity management between your car and your home. Very exciting. So I just want to talk a little bit more. We have offered these webinars to League of Women Voters as Drive Clean, and we are also Drive Clean Bay Area. It's kind of how we started. We actually started Drive Clean Marin and then expanded to a collaboration called Drive Clean Bay Area. And so we offer these nationwide programs also as Drive Clean. But I want to let you know that we do have a very robust website, drivecleanbayarea.org. Kevin, can you drop that in the chat? Where we have lots of great information, not only about other events we have. So we do basically public Zoom webinars weekly, EV 101, similar to this one. And then we do also an EV 102 to help new drivers transition smoothly. They both have Q&A and we're happy to answer questions. We also have a robust website highlighting available and coming EVs, a how-to EV section, including steps to driving electric, and a buying and driving guide. And then, as I mentioned before, twice a year, we offer a preferred pricing or an EV discount campaign in California with our partner Cartelligent to give consumers great pricing on EVs. Last year, when there was plenty of inventory for EVs, we ran this campaign in November. We were able to help close to 100 individuals switch to driving electric. The discounts were typically between $750 and $2,500, in addition to rebates and other manufacturer incentives. So we hope that you stick with us. We will be sending a follow-up email, and I think you'll be added to our list, so you will be receiving newsletters from us. You are welcome to unsubscribe if you don't want that, but we hope to keep engaging with you and talking to you more about driving electric. So you came here today to learn about how to switch to an electric vehicle so that you can help reduce carbon emissions. It's great that you took the time to learn about how to switch to driving electric. So can we ask for your help? We can all remember our blue skies and clean air that we experienced last year when many people stopped driving altogether. If you can make the switch to driving electric now, we are here to help you. The sooner the better. And if you're not ready now, can we have your support by pledging to make your next car electric? And if getting an EV now is not feasible, we recommend holding on to your current car because solutions are on their way. If you need a different car now, we recommend buying a used gas car or a plug-in hybrid, since a newly purchased or leased gas car will be on the road for 12 to 15 years, emitting carbon and air pollution. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, and it's time for Q&A. Thank you all for your commitment and your pledges to making your next car electric. Okay, so Kevin, how are things going in the chat?
There's nothing urgent going on in the chat. There's, there's a thank you from Massachusetts, so I like that.
You're welcome, Massachusetts.
So I actually have kind of a technical question that is just a little off the topic. We would like to there is some VW settlement money here in Idaho, and we would like to put in some EVs. And I'm wondering if Drive Clean has anybody who can talk with us about what's a good company to work with to put in an EV station. Sorry, an EV charging station in our town. And I'll just leave it at that question.
Okay. I mean, what I do know that locally, we work with our main, public utility, PG&E. We work with, so we do have a CCA. I don't know if you have CCAs up in Idaho. Yeah, so we also work with the Transportation Authority and with the Bay Area Air Quality District. So those are organizations that actually help fund these, but also help manage the install of charging stations. Bruce, do you have any other comments about that at all, or?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm going to turn my wife's computer off. Hold on.
Well, while he's doing that, you might say what a CCA is. Others may not know.
Yeah, it is an alternative electricity provider. So here in the Bay Area where we live, we have PG&E. You've all probably heard of that in the news. But in addition, we also have an alternative, these alternative organizations kind of in each region that actually procure electricity. So while PG&E still transmits electricity, which is why they sometimes turn off the electricity because of fire risk, so for us, MCE, Marin Clean Energy, actually procures the electricity. So when we pay our bills to MCE, they build wind, they set up wind turbines and build solar farms so that we can get clean electricity. And they usually offer, these CCAs offer two different types of levels of electricity, like MCE has light green that has 60% renewables, and deep green, which offers 100% renewables. So you're investing, when you have that type of electricity, you're investing in solar and wind. It's really about, like, we have this pie of different sources of electricity, and we just want to like push out the solar and the wind as much as possible and push out other sources that are not as clean.
Linda, I'm not sure if you were talking about kind of at the ground level, who installs chargers on a one by one kind of basis. Typically, there's local electricians that specialize in EVs, and they're good to choose from because they have experience and a lot of creative solutions to some of the problems you come up with. We've also, as Annika was mentioning, we've worked with small local governments like cities and towns where they have long-term parking or parking spaces. One of the keys about putting in chargers is what kind of charger is appropriate. So you have the level 2 charger where somebody, stops and goes to dinner and comes back out and picks up, 25, 50 miles. Or you have maybe people who are parking at a bus depot and they're going to leave their car there all day. And then you can use the less expensive level 1 charging that charges more slowly, but you want the people to leave their car in a long-term lot anyway, so it works out in that fashion.
So actually, we want to get probably the best and fastest charger, and I'm actually looking for not so much the local electricians, but there's like this pillar, right? And who puts in the pillar, or what companies actually do that part, not so much the actual electrical install. I'm not concerned about that.
Yeah, well, there are electricians who do the whole thing. They'll put in the bollard so you don't run over the device or that kind of thing. And just having the fastest charger means you want people to move their car on as soon as they're done charging. And so there are circumstances when people are happy to do that. They're going to sit down, charge, and go. Like when we drove our car up to Washington, we pulled into Electrify America, got a coffee, came back. We had another 100 miles in our car, and off we went immediately. And somebody else jumps on that charger, as opposed to around town where someone's shopping for 4 hours and you've spent a lot of money on a expensive high-speed charger, but they're just parked there for 4 hours.
Okay, something to think about. Thank you.
Kevin.
Thank you, Annika. I just wanted to point out that it might be worth saying that Electrify America, who has helped sponsor this program, is funded by the Volkswagen settlement, which means that there have been hundreds of millions of dollars invested in electric charging infrastructure across the country. And EA, if you are near a highway or in some center where there is going to be demand for electric vehicle infrastructure, in some instances, they will simply install a large bank of DC fast chargers. So it's worth knowing that, because you have to ask. They don't, walk around going, "Hey, who wants DC fast charging?" But yeah, worth asking.
Yeah, and Linda, reach back out to us, and we'll see if we have a contact at the corporate level, maybe, that we could connect you with. I wanted to point out that it is almost 6:15. I want to thank you all so much for coming today. This is really great. I love all of the questions that you have as well. I will stay on if you have more questions, and if otherwise, happy Saturday night.